Hello there everyone, Joe Neat, Executive Producer on Sea of Thieves, here with another weekly dev update video. So, as some of you are probably aware, last week was an interesting one for us, and we obviously introduced a few issues into the build that we didn't want to. We had some feedback around the barrel inventory, around some accommodation changes that we made. So I really wanted to use this video to use it as an opportunity to take stock, really, and the fact that we're nearly 6 months after launch now, and it's been an amazing kind of time on Sea of Thieves with us growing and updating the game. And I think we've done a really good job in terms of growing and delivering new content and getting it out regularly. As I look back over all of the different updates that we've done, the Hungering Deep, the Curse Sales, the Build Route adventures in between, and heading towards Forsaken Shores super soon. But at the same time, we are aware that we have been introducing issues occasionally, and it really culminated last week with us introducing a number of issues into the build, which was really frustrating because the build itself, in terms of the new content that was in it, was amazing and probably one of our best almost weekly updates outside of a major content update with the Cursed Cannonballs coming in, the Reaper's Mark, a new inventory system, the skeleton ships out in the world that you can go find and battle. And so, on that hand, it was really cool because all this content came in, but then when we released it and we discovered both that we'd introduced some bugs and also we got a lot of feedback around the new inventory system that we introduced. It was a real kind of week of mixed emotions for us. So alongside fixing those issues, which we've been working hard to do ever since Thursday and they became apparent, we've also been looking at our internal processes of how we actually get content out to players. And really what's become apparent to us is that because of this drive we've had to just release new content and get it out as quickly as we can and push it out to players and a real passion across the whole team to do that, we've also not really built in enough time for us to get valid testing on some of the releases. And so, whether that's testing from pioneers and getting feedback on kind of new features and changes to the game, like the inventory system, or it's just the actual validation of a build and ensuring that we can be as confident as we can that there hasn't been any new issues introduced. And so, looking at this, we really have to make some improvements internally to our process. And that's on us as a leadership team for Sea of Thieves, in terms of making sure that as we plan for new features that are coming in, that we build this into our plans, we make sure that we build in that time at the end, we deliver features earlier so that we can get that time, we can get feedback from pioneers, we can get testing time, both from pioneers, from our internal test team as well. The key issues that we introduced last week into the build, we have addressed and they're fixed for this week. So, pigs can now be fed successfully. You now can complete the Athena's voyages, and thankfully we fixed the spyglass issue, so there will be no more spyglasses in awkward places. So another topic of conversation last week was the new inventory system that we introduced to Sea of Thieves, in terms of how you interact with barrels, how you collect resources out of them, how you put resources in, and obviously a lot of feedback around this. And again, a bit of frustration internally here that we did a pretty bad job of communicating these changes up front. We really should have been much more aware of the impact that a change like this would have on our players, and we should have communicated it much better leading up to it, with the reasoning behind it and how we're planning to grow the game in the future and why this system change was kind of really needed for Sea of Thieves, both for the introduction of Cursed Cannonballs, but also beyond this, in terms of how we're going to be growing the game and, like more options for resource gathering, different types of food, different types of ammunition, all of these things are coming into Sea of Thieves. And so you need this inventory system to do so. But again, similar to the bugs that we've introduced, the fact is the system came together quite late in terms of when we got it ready to test. So we got it into pioneers really late, and we did get feedback, but we really didn't have the time and opportunity to address that feedback prior to it going live alongside the Cursed Cannonballs. So again, it's symptomatic of that, not delivering the features early enough to give us the testing time, to give us the feedback time. And because we were just kind of pushing to get this in and rushing to get Cursed Cannonballs out, again, we just didn't get that opportunity to think about, hey, we're introducing this change to the world. How do we message this prior to it, and how do we let people know that this is coming? And so Mike's done a really great post, both on the forums and on Reddit, detailing the reasoning behind this and also what changes we're going to be making, improvements we're going to be making. But ultimately, we should have done that up front. We should have let people know prior, because having a new system like this that's a complete change, a complete surprise without any real context, that was a miss on our part, because ultimately with Sea of Thieves, we're going to continue growing, improving, and changing the game, and that will mean changing systems like this because, as the game grows and evolves, you need to make that room for new features coming in. But yeah, we didn't do a good job of communicating it, and we're kind of on the back foot in terms of communicating afterwards, and that's never a place we want to be in. So for those that haven't read Mike's posts, a couple of minor improvements that are coming in this week's build that we managed to get in super quick. When you approach a barrel, you'll be able to see that it's empty, and we've also upped the likelihood of finding resources in barrels, especially around outposts and stuff, so when you're starting your adventure, it'll be a bit easier to stock up without having to go into kind of multiple barrels too. So beyond that though, like the two major improvements that we want to make to this is a take all and a kind of give all. So rather than having to do it all manually when you go into a barrel, you'll be able to just grab everything that's there or put everything from your inventory into the barrels itself. And also when you're on a cannon, and you want to switch between different cannonball types, like the cursed cannonballs, you'll be able to pull up kind of a quick select and quickly select it bang while you're on the cannon and then use it. So those are the two major ones. There's a lot of quality of life improvement stuff too, like in terms of switching where the resource is in the inventory and stuff. So we've been getting a lot of feedback over time that some of the accommodations were incredibly hard to kind of achieve. And so we wanted to rebalance these to give the majority of players a chance of actually achieving this. And so that's been received well by a lot of players, but we also know that some of our most engaged players, having these really aspirational accommodations to go and achieve, is something that people were really striving towards. So we know that this change hasn't particularly pleased some of the most engaged players, but we have plans to bring in both new accommodations for legends, so things that you can achieve on Athena's kind of quests, as well as new accommodations around kind of existing content for people to go and achieve. So we've definitely got an eye on both the kind of the broader player base with the accommodation changes we've made, but also our most engaged players and our legends, and giving those kind of specific goals to go and achieve too. So moving on, I wanted to talk a little bit about Cursed Cruise, which is obviously the build adventure that we introduced last week, and it's running for its second week now. And for me, this is one of my favourite build adventures because I absolutely love the introduction of the Reaper's Mark. Because I think anything that we bring in that introduces like a new social dynamic to our shared world and introduces options for players to use something in a way that gives people different kind of tools and different options, I always think is super fascinating. And so I jumped in at the weekend and I played, and I wasn't flying the Reaper's Mark to begin with, but then I saw other crews using it, so I decided to fly mine, and then we would be meeting up in the world, and you'd almost end up in this weird truce place where it was like, look, rather than just having a battle, how about we park next to each other and fire cursed cannibals at each other and we can win commendations? And that was kind of what someone suggested to me out in the world, and I was like, oh, I hadn't really thought of that. And it was quite just a really cool way of someone using this tool in a way that I hadn't even considered. And so I took part in, and those were the easiest commendations that I've earned so far as part of the build adventures. But I just thought that was really cool that someone was using it in that way. So I genuinely love when we introduce things like this into the world, and so I'd thoroughly encourage everybody to jump in and have a go at the build adventures. I think they're super cool. I think the cursed cannibals are amazing as well, both in terms of the ones that affect the ship, but also kind of shooting them at skeletons on the land and seeing them all dancing and all that crazy stuff. It's so much fun, and I think they just introduce a really new dynamic to both exploration in terms of finding these, but also to combat and encounters with other players. So it's a really cool build adventure, and like just the content we've introduced with that update is super rich. So yeah, I'd encourage everybody to jump in and have a play, because it's a hell of a lot of fun. So wrapping up, like Forsaken Shores is coming super soon, September the 19th. It's going to be awesome. Like, loved the reaction to the rowboat video that we put out last week. I think that's going to be one of my new favourite features when it comes into the game, because of just the variety of moments and stories and interesting encounters with other players that we're going to see as a result of that. The world itself looks incredible, and I'm really looking forward to kind of the campaign that we're going to be running. That's very much about discovering the history of the Devil's Roar, this new part of the world that we're introducing in Forsaken Shores. So yeah, jump in, have a great time with the Cursed Crew build adventure, because it's awesome, and Forsaken Shores is coming super soon. So yeah, I will see you out on the seas. Cheers.
Thank you very much for watching. If you want to stay up to date with everything Sea of Thieves, then subscribe to our channel and click that little ship's bell for all those notifications. Cheers. Don't worry, I'll just wait here. I'm not doing much anyway. Couple of good videos there if you want to watch.